So we're going home.
It still says waiting to go on.
I'll go out
It's
this
still
way.
Yeah. But it's like a huge
It's a big
house.
house, yeah. Linda and I stopped at the barn to see Nikki a while ago, and I saw it. Yeah, it was big.
It says we're on.
She was telling about the house.
Is it, when you go up, is it on the right or the left or what?
On the right, just
On the
before you
right.
go up the hill.
Just before, just before you start up the hill.
Have they still been doing it?
Someone's got some money they
We're
want to
still a
spend.
couple minutes early, but I think we are now streaming.
Ooh,
Just
Oh,
an FYI.
We're live, met them, and I don't think she did.
What's that?
I don't remember if she said she met
things
them
in
or
for the other meeting when they watched it online, and the volume didn't turn on until
No,
the start of
it
the
was
meeting.
originally Billy's.
Oh, yeah.
Because Billy's left around the old house.
Oh, no. The beginning didn't have sound.
Then Crow
Maybe was it the
totally
start of the
revived
meeting
it from
yet?
Billy. but
Because
never
at first there was no sound.
Okay, because it was into it, I
So
thought.
Yeah,
it
the
was
beginning,
Billy
the first like
passed
2
away.
minutes there was no sound, and then they must
So
have realized.
in
And
the meantime,
plugged it in.
Crow had sold that 2-acre lot to somebody. We're
live now. We're live. Joanne Turnberg is
Interesting.
no, I don't believe so. I have photos though. I have updated photos.
always at the beginning.
I must stuff external.
One more minute.
Okay. So actually, okay, I think that one.
What a gorgeous day tonight. Hallelujah. Finally.
Put water bottle, a little water bottle in that koozie.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I will seat Lise Wood for Drew. Old business, number 1, show cause hearing, order to cease violation, continued 183 King Road, Nicholas Turnberg.
Okay, and just, I'm gonna have my sound on my phone for whenever, hopefully the town attorney is gonna call
Right.
later, but, so if it makes crazy sounds, I apologize in advance. So, okay, for this kind of continued show cause hearing, we don't have the landowner here, but I did receive new photos. Last we heard the piles would be rehydro-seeded. That's really all we're waiting on now to close out this order is just final stabilization. So I have new photos from today sent by the property owner, and there's a lot of improvement. Some of what you'll see is new hydro seed, so it looks very full, but some of it's the hydro seed. But I reminded him that once it's 100%, let me know. I'll come out. Hopefully we can close this out. But I'll send around these photos. It's two-sided, although it flipped the wrong way. So I have to flip it top to bottom.
I think we're really getting to know this file.
But definitely improvement from before. So hopefully hopefully we won't have it on our agenda forever.
So we're not going to do anything with that.
No.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to discussion possible decision application 816-378 Gulf Road, construction of gravel driveway in the upland review area associated with subdivision of property and construction of new home and garage. Daniel Halpern.
All right. And the applicant is here. We really didn't have further questions at the last meeting.
Right.
So I don't have anything new for you on it, and unless anyone has any questions.
No. I'll take a motion for purposes of discussion. Someone could move to approve application 816.
I make a motion to approve
That's
application.
right, you gotta.
That
Sydney can help you out with the. Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Would you please, Sydney? Thank you.
Candace still making the motion?
Yep.
Okay. To approve application 816-378 Gulf Road, construction of gravel driveway in the upland review area associated with the subdivision of property and construction of new home and garage. based on the following. The commission finds the applicant has submitted all necessary application materials pursuant to section 211-7 of the Wetlands Regulation, including but not limited to section 211-7E5, alternatives considered and rejected. The commission did not find the proposed activities significant. The commission finds that the criteria set forth in section 211-10P have been met by the applicant.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion or questions based on last month's meeting? I think we're all set. So, motion to approve.
Aye.
I mean, all those in favor? Okay.
I know what you meant.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, motion carries. That's it, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You won't be rude if you leave. Don't worry about it. And I'll next week get you the permit. We'll have to post a legal notice. There'll be technically an appeal period from when the legal notice is posted, but as of tonight, you officially have been approved by conservation anyway. So.
Okay.
All right.
Email me or something.
Yeah, I'll email you the permit. It'll end up being next week, but I'll send you the minutes and the permit.
Okay.
And then there'll be a 15-day appeal period from when the legal notice runs in the paper. But yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, new business, application 817, 42 Dillenbach Road, grading and installation of septic system in upland review area associated with construction of new home and barn, David Luganbuhl.
Okay, so, we've got a couple new applications just received, so I haven't gone out to walk this one yet, although it's a familiar site because we just had approved both a jurisdictional ruling for forestry and then also a permit for pond dredging on this property a few months back. So now they have an application for a new home, and the house itself is not in the upland review area, just the septic system and grading. And Tim, are you presenting?
I will. Or I.
Okay.
I'm here to answer questions.
Okay.
Name's over.
Okay. If you feel free to come up and
Okay.
just kind of describe the project, and I'll put the plans up too. Get it myself. Yeah, feel free, just, to explain just the intent and the thinking and, why you ended up at that site and all that sort of.
Yep. So for the gravity feed septic, needed to be down here in this area, I guess. And up here in this agricultural field, my wife has a lot of flowers planted up here, and we don't want to push the house any further forward.
I have an aerial with me. I can kind of show what's there now. And then you'll see where the wetland line is. That's right above the pond, which has been dredged now. So that area between the house and the pond is, currently disturbed for dredging of the pond. Let's see if I have an aerial from before. Oh yeah. So, and we're talking kind of on the.
Yeah, right here. The house would be located roughly right here.
Okay.
Kind of right on the edge of the tree line.
Yeah. So this is the current field and the pond that's been dredged, and basically the house would go at the edge of the field and tree line.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Really like that?
Right around the house would be here. Then the septic would be down in this area.
And the driveway is along This area?
No, this is the driveway over here.
Oh,
There's no driveway on there. Oh, do you want me to show
I
you where
was
it
just
would be?
wondering where it is.
Oh, it would be
here.
coming from Dillonback Road and
In
going right
this
down.
way.
Yep.
Okay.
So how far is it from the wetland line? Is it 50 feet about, where the septic starts?
Yeah, it's 1 inch is 40 feet.
Let's see. The septic to the wetland is about 50 feet, but to the edge of grading and disturbance is
Right
about
here.
40 feet.
55 feet.
Yeah, and then a little grading below that, but
Well, I
but
think
yeah,
the-
that actually.
The grading will be incorporated with the pond cleanup, I guess, as well.
Yeah, I see. Right, I know, that's where it's a little bit different, where that's
Sure, yeah,
already
correct.
disturbed. Yeah. So there's silt fence in place already, a little lower than that, because it's containing the spoils from the dredging. That's correct, right?
That is correct, yes.
So most likely.
Yeah, it's a
they'll just
little
keep that
lower
same silt.
than their planned silt fence, but
Yeah.
because the piles are obviously,
Yeah.
they were really wet when we were pushing them, so that's kind of where we had to let them, dry out. And
So you'll be sort of simultaneously restoring
that
that
is
area
correct. Yeah.
and the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
That will be topsoil spread. Once we're done with the house, we'll spread everything right
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
then seed and grading seed.
Right, so I'm not like a building professional or anything,
Yeah, yeah.
but like septic systems, and when it comes to this commission, we're kind of just looking, we're just assuming that the septic's up to,
We'll generally get,
Has to approve that.
okay.
yeah, and we'll generally look for that. By the time the approval comes around, we'll look for the sanitarian to have officially approved it. But she was out there looking at test pits and
Yes,
all right, yeah.
correct.
So
I would just like to add,
Yeah.
Tim Kuhn, J.R. Russo, we prepared the plans. The health department, actually the Department of Public Health in Connecticut, has established a 50-foot setback from wetland and water course to a septic system, and they just set that 50-foot based on, protection of the water course and the wetland down gradient. So that's the minimum we have to maintain.
Does anybody have any other questions? No. Concerns? No. It's probably going to be fairly easy approval, just once we know that the sanitarian has approved it.
yeah, I didn't know, and I'll go out before the next meeting in case anything, strikes me that is needed on the plan, but I don't know, given it was a pond, if you felt necessary to have the permanent markers or not. It's not like a forested wetland where it's
You don't know
unclear
where
that
it
it's
is.
a wetland. Yeah. But I was trying to think if there was anything else you would want, but
No, I mean, at the time of the motion, we can just mention a buffer to protect the pond, whatever.
yeah. Do you have any thoughts of planting along the pond just to keep it?
Planting what?
Anything but grass. We
Yeah.
just don't like lawn going right down to a pond or a water course, just because if there's ever any chemicals or
Yeah.
pesticides or anything, then they can wash in. So we prefer that you didn't plant a lawn right to the pond itself. If there was any kind of stuff Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can plant something.
Weeds, anything.
Weeds, yeah, I have weeds growing there now. A lot of
Yeah, it's just better to have a little bit of a buffer.
Sure.
To catch anything that might.
That's not a
anytime.
manicured lawn.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
sure.
I mean, you see them around town, but we don't like it.
I'm good at growing weeds.
Okay.
They come natural.
Yeah.
You and me both.
That's a pretty flower.
Yeah.
All right.
I could send you like a seed mix or something like that. Just, something suitable for the wetland
Okay,
area.
sure, absolutely.
I think that's pretty much it.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
You have a
Yes,
good
they
evening.
can't legally approve tonight, but
Yeah, that's
you know
what
the
you
drill.
said. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thanks.
We don't have anybody here for the next application. I just didn't know. If that was
Oh, yeah, we're making better time. Oh, no, we do have that for the next one.
Should we amend the agenda if Carl's not with us yet?
Oh, I don't think our last one is here yet.
You want
Oh, that's what I
oh,
mean.
really?
Because I knew the last one on here is he had another meeting in East Granby and was going to head here. I thought it would be safe after 7:30, but then I could try calling Carl.
We're
Actually.
very efficient.
I know we're like
Usually.
we're moving right through. So let me see. I'll try calling Carl in case he forgot about this.
So if he's ready, we'll just do that. If he's not ready, we can go to staff report or something.
Yeah, let me see. I'm gonna put this in the wrong place. There we go. Oh, that's a pond dredging. Sorry.
Which one are we going to
Just
next?
worried I'm
Number
gonna-
3?
We're
We were
waiting
just
to see
debating.
if the town attorney is ready, we'll go right to 2.
Okay.
The applicant for 3 isn't here yet.
Oh, I
He
see.
had another meeting to go to
I see.
anyway, so.
I see.
I forget what time Carl said.
7:50. You had said 7:15 to 7:30.
Okay. And then, okay, there we go. Now I found my file. I was just afraid I'd have this jumble at the end. Okay. So let me
He
try.
said I can join by phone around 7:15 to 7:30, so
Okay.
we can try.
See if he picks up.
Lise, did you burn yourself?
No, I bumped myself.
You bumped yourself.
I bruise easy, so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not constantly bumping myself.
It's easy to bump yourself, isn't it?
It is. Lately,
Yeah.
I get too close to the doorway.
Oh, yeah.
I do that at work till I bump myself. Yep. I bruise easy, always did. But now more than ever.
I'll just tell him.
Do you want to go down the staff report?
Yeah, and I also could start presenting
Cover for
the other one. Yeah, and it's just if you have questions. Let's see.
818 is she talking about?
818 doesn't sound too complicated.
I just
does
texted.
it?
Right, yeah, if you want to talk about, do you want to reorder the agenda?
Motion to
I'll make a motion that we go to 3
Yep.
and skip over 2 for now.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, application 81875 Brittany Lane.
Okay, so there's a couple lots left on Brittany that were never developed. The subdivision was back in, I think, 89 or so, somewhere in the late 80s. And of course, the remaining lots are a couple that have wetlands on them. So the wetland permit has expired, and
So this is
subdivision plan, my opinion is, so the applicant popped into town hall yesterday hoping to just ask about starting to clear the lot and get ready, not realizing they needed a new wetland permit. So they quick got together an application and submitted this to have something for you tonight. So I'm hoping they'll have a updated plan for next meeting. And so it's this lot in the middle, that's lot 12, and which is 75 Brittany. And from conversation, it sounds like the plan will very closely mimic this with a similar footprint house that's long and thin like that. And they're planning on mostly following this plan and not changing the limit of disturbance. And he also added on the plan that that limit of disturbance would also be the silt fence, and so that they wouldn't disturb beyond there. It's a pretty flat lot, so there's not a lot of grading proposed. So for now, we've got this. We'll need, probably a little bit more than this. The other issue is, this wetland disturbance, this wetland delineation is from, what year was this? It's quite old, from 1990. So this many years elapsed.
1900s.
I know. Back in the 1900s. That we really should have on a new plan, a new delineation, and it should be signed by a soil scientist. So, and especially this doesn't really meet today's standards of we should have flag numbers and it should be signed by the soil scientist. So I've mentioned that as well. And we're only receiving it now, so if the applicant appears before the end of the meeting, we can also open it back and let him talk. But did you have any questions?
Do you know where the house is going to go?
Yeah, it'll be.
Oh, over here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm
So
looking over
they're
here.
keeping it tight to that 50-foot setback from the road. So pretty much as far from wetlands as it can be, and the septic is behind the house, but in the area where the wetland meanders the furthest away. There's also an open space easement, the back half of the property. That drainage is on the lot next door. And let's see. Trying to think if there's anything else worth.
Isn't it 13 built?
No. Actually, that one I believe is built, but not the one on the other side. I think 10 and 12 are the ones that are not built.
Okay.
13 I believe is built. So basically, need some plan updates. And on this plan, there's no construction, the house is not in the upland review area, similar to the last one, but likely some grading, and where they're showing the silt fence limit of work is within the upland review area. So, but actually not the septic system. So it's pretty limited to some vegetation clearing, a little grading, and let's see if this. Oh, hey, Rick. They were flying through, so I was just. I was just presenting a little bit, but I'll let you give your. I'll let you step in.
You can do better than that.
But mostly, I was just describing the limit of work you showed on there, and that's really some vegetation removal and a little grading in the upland review area. That we were discussed updating the plans, and fingers crossed that the surveyor can do it by the next meeting. We didn't get to the point where I asked them if they had any questions yet, but I don't know, Rick, if you want to add any, I know you didn't hear me, but if there's anything you're
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's from the approved plan, which scarily was 35 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rick Granger.
Sorry, Rick Ranger with Bruin Associates. So it's just doing what we kind of planned to do from the get-go, but 30 years later than we kind of hoped to.
Yeah. Time flies.
Yes, it does, but we all look the same. So hopefully Steve Ribberty's going to get a chance to flag the wetlands this week.
Oh, great.
And then Mike Smith will pick it up, and then we'll have Mike Marco. The footprint of the house is shorter than what's drawn here, and the garage is a little bit wider. But overall, it's a smaller footprint on the house. So it should be pretty basic layout there. And, we're working with the topography, so we're not, the fill is in the front, not towards the back. So.
Great.
Sounds good.
Because if those things are done, we can approve that at the next meeting, right? Because it's already been accepted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're squeeze this in so you could receive it tonight.
Because the folks are jumping the bit to get going. So
After
hopefully
30
we
years.
Well, they haven't owned that lot for 30
Right,
years.
they're
but
new.
It's a young couple live down the street. So.
2050 before we know it.
So we'll get Joanna the information as soon as we get it, and we'll see you guys right before the 4th, huh?
Yep.
Yep.
I hope it's not.
We didn't even let you sit down.
July 2nd.
July 2nd.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Halfway
I
good
saw
time.
you drove over here for like 2 minutes, but
All right.
I guess you didn't have to wait around.
That's it. Thank you.
Start. We can present the information we have. All right. Stack them up here. Oops, this one just slipped on me. All right.
Okay. Show cause hearing, order to cease violation, 122 Watchog Road, site work causing erosion and sedimentation of water course, Oak Ridge Dairy, LLC.
Okay. So, I guess just some background and then,
Hopefully Carl will join us.
yeah, I was anticipating the town attorney calling in, but he might be a little delayed, but I guess we can just start talking and then see. But let's see. Let me get my dates right. So you'll probably recall from a few months back, we had a jurisdictional determination for this property, and it was deemed exempt for the farm to, there were a few activities, but one of those was some regrading of a pond, a stormwater pond of sorts, right on Watchog Road. And that's like up gradient of the airstrip and all that, but right along the road. So that aspect's not a problem. Really just what transpired was that the swale that carries that water down and eventually discharges to Watchog Brook was trenched before the water was drained from the pond, which resulted in sediment being carried and discharging to Watchog Brook. So commission members had observed this and had stopped over there and spoke with representatives of the property, and then I ultimately issued a notice of violation, and work was continued and discharge to the brook continued So I ultimately issued a cease and desist order, which is why we now have this show cause hearing today. So
Wasn't it really rainy all that time?
the timing wasn't great because I believe it was Wednesday the 21st, May 21st, that the work was observed, and there was a significant rain event Thursday the 22nd, which didn't help matters. I should say also that when concerns were communicated, there was an effort to put down chopped straw, to temporarily dam up the pond to stop the water from draining, and those efforts there was responsiveness on the part of the property owner. It's just that discharge continued and work had continued. And I don't know, Joan, if you want to add anything, or if you want to
No,
here, there.
Not really.
Oh, and besides, I guess I do have some photos. Let's see. I'll give a copy to just so those who didn't observe it. Let's see, there should be 2 copies here. I'm wondering if they all printed or not. Because I'm told it to print 2 copies. I'd have one for them. Well, if not, I'll make copies before the end of the meeting. So I'll just send these around. But basically, most of the pictures are just the trench dug up, and you can see erosion in the channel, and there's sedimentation kind of bypassing the trench in some places, and then there's a small culvert on the property that goes under a little farm entrance. That culvert appears to be about half full of sediment. And then there's some views of kind of a plume of sediment in Watchog Brook as well, but I'll just send those around. But
Were these all taken on the same day, or?
so there's 2 dates within a week of each other, though. Let me see. So
This was after these hay bales were put in after it had already
yes.
eroded into the brook.
So this showed up after the hay bales were put up, this erosion? or
No,
They were just.
the
put
erosion
up?
was there. They had put stone barriers that didn't hold it back, and so then the day that Drew and I were out there, Seth arranged to have he plugged up the outlet from the pond and then had hay bales delivered, but by the next day or 2 or whatever, it was just going under the hay bales. So it was still, and this is I think down at the end here is where there's like a little culvert that's not. Oh, it's here. You can't really see it. That's not on town property. Under the street is where it hooks up with the town drainage system.
Yeah, and I could put dates on them, but the photos were both May 21st and
I have
and May
dates here, too.
27th.
Dates on some of them.
But I can label those better. Or metal.
So really the purpose of this meeting, though, is that they need to kind of tell us why we shouldn't have issued this cease and desist.
Yeah, or
right?
why it shouldn't remain. So, yeah, so we present kind of the evidence we have of the violation, and yeah, they can make a case for why the cease and desist shouldn't remain in place. Yeah. So.
I guess so hi, I'm Seth. My question, if we're complete with this project, what should we explain? Like the reason why we did it, or like if we're completed, we're not here to like fight, or like we're here because we own 600 acres in Summers. We farm thousands of acres of land. We have a lot of attention in Summers right now. We're trying to be nice neighbors. We're not evil people. We're human beings.
No one thinks otherwise. Yeah.
You don't have to get up and prove that.
We work really hard, and we just want to, like, we don't want sediment in the brook. We also have a contractor that is working up in that area that is a professional, like probably one of the best in the state. Did the project for us. He's leaving the site. He says, oh, that was the last project on there. We got approved through the board that it is that we can reshape that pond, which we reshaped. There's no wetlands farther down that ditch. We should have not taken the vegetation out. Then when we plugged the pond, we had to redo it again because we had to get that water down to get that out. So
well, we should have had a plan or something.
Well,
because
so at our meeting, we said we can reshape it.
Right.
And farther down that ditch is not wetland, so I don't know what the plan would be.
The plan would be for erosion controls, which were not there.
Yeah.
And so you did remove, or he did remove all the vegetation. It was just before a heavy rain event.
Yeah.
So you saw, you were exempt, you were able to do some work. You're not exempt from polluting wetlands and watercourses, though, which is what happened, and that was our concern. So when we first spoke with you, you were very responsive. We were surprised. You came out immediately and you took measures. But by the next day, unfortunately, the hay bales and everything, the water was running under, and it was still carrying sediment down. And then when we commented that we had issued a notice of violation, I believe Drew was told, well, we're going to work anyway, which you continued to do. And then when Joanne and I went again a few days later, and we spoke with someone about having to issue a cease and desist because there was still heavy equipment up there working, and the erosion was not controlled. And we were sort of laughed at, like, oh, we're already done. And it's like, oh, great, so
that was hell.
You continued to do the work even though you had been told you were in violation a week prior, and this was still going on like every day. So issuing the cease and desist order really didn't do any good. The damage was done. You were already wrapping up here's
the
plan. But we have to be able to do something to
talking about now. Hang on a second.
Kind of make it known that you're in violation. You haven't been able to correct this, and clearly you wouldn't have been able to correct it already because you couldn't get grass to grow at that point. And you did do what you could do. It wasn't enough. So then when we saw continued work, even after the cease and desist order, we were told you were just smoothing it out. It did appear from some pictures that 2 more swales were being kind of formed to lead down into that area. And so I don't think we've had rains. Well, we did have rain over the weekend. So I don't know what happened since then. But of course, our concern is all the sediment that, first of all, it's clogging your pipe. It's about half full. And then whatever's there is going under the road into the town's whole drainage system, and it's several hundred feet before it discharges. So there's a lot of soil and sediment, and it's kind of messing up Watchung Brook. So, as far as what do we do now, it's a done deal, but we had to do something. If we had had the ability to slap fines on to say, you got to stop work, you got to stabilize this, you can't do anything more, but we don't have that power. So all we can do is we issued the notice of violation, work continued, there was still sediment, then we issued the cease and desist, but you said, well, we're already done. So, and the area still is not stabilized. So if we get heavy rain again, we're still just going to keep getting more of that sediment wash out into your swale, which in turn is leading ultimately down to the brook.
And I think this is an ongoing issue, bigger picture, like there's across the street, they're pumping mud out onto the road, and then, that was happening 2 days before I was up there, like they're pumping sediment out onto the road, but then...
See, we didn't see that, and we were there, and we didn't see evidence of that.
Like it. We're not trying to contaminate anything.
Across the street?
Yeah, where?
The same side of the street, we're pumping out a pond. So it's...
Yeah, but we
just
didn't see any of that on the street or leading into the culvert to be leading down into the brook. It was clearly coming out of the town's culvert into the brook, and that was coming from your swale into your little pipe under the street. And we didn't see, and where the area of soil was down by the hangar, that was further down from where the drainage, the catch basin or whatever you call it, was. So I don't think that was making it down to the brook, or we would have seen evidence of it flowing down.
Yeah, no, I guess what's our next step in, we're working right now with DEP, the Army Corps of Engineers, the town of Wetlands, the DEP fish to dig out Broad Brook. So it's not in Summers, but we just got approval to dig out Broad Brook. There's going to be sediment from the
We have
Broad
no
Brook.
say over Broad Brook. We have say over Summers.
But I'm just saying, we work with the Army Corps, work with DEP, we try to do what's right.
Right.
So,
And in this case, it was really, I think, just the order of operations, and to Joan's point, maybe we should have pushed more for what your plan was, because I think if we had known your plan was to first trench out the swale, that would have been a red flag of you're going to cause sedimentation to the brook.
and one of the neighbors, so when we dammed it up, the neighbor across the street came out, it's if you dam that up, it's going to flood our houses out on the other side of the street. It happened 20 years ago, and that pond was dug because we were having water issues across the street. So, if we would have kept the dam, I guess the plan, we should have had a better plan.
Yeah, it was mostly the plan, because there are other ways to dewater, you could pump and discharge directly to that catch basin or to where the edge of your property before the stone channel begins. But to send water over a very long dirt channel is just a recipe for sediment getting into the brook. So
I think the bottom line is we're done. We know for the future we'll do a better job, make sure there's a plan, and we're here for you to take it off because we're done. There's nothing left to do. The grass is growing. I was up there today. The hay's all still there. Grass is growing.
On both sides of the swale, you mean?
Yeah.
Good.
At least on the field side. The other side against the road was a lot of the vegetation stayed. And there is definitely some washouts on the bottom still, but it's growing and it'll be maintained and kept looking good.
And I would just add that there are numerous check dams. I don't think I've ever seen a swale with more check dams in it.
Well, I was surprised too, but the water's still...
And the water's going to do that.
Yeah.
Water flows downhill. The check dams, it slows it down so much but it can only slow it down so much based on the slope there. That it's a matter of giving the sediment time to settle out. And during a rain event, you really don't have that time.
No,
You know,
the timing was
the storm's
terrible.
going to filter it to some degree. The hay's going to filter it to some degree. But when you have a construction site like that, even a silt fence doesn't prevent all the turbidity from going through a silt fence. It's, you can only do so much.
Right, well, then that wasn't a good plan. If you're saying that none of those check dams or hay bales could have prevented that, then that's not really something that we would have accepted as a plan because you were affecting a water course.
I don't know what would have prevented that.
I don't know.
Not trenching the swale before dewatering the pond. That's, yeah.
True. That's true.
That's
I
the
agree with
issue,
that.
really.
But
Yeah.
now when it rains, it's
Yeah.
you're doing the best. It's vegetate the thing as fast as you can. Essentially, is
Right.
Right, it was more just the order of events and was unfortunate.
We should have done it last fall when NRCS came out to look at it the first time because the pond was dry, everything was dry. That would have been the time to do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But
right. That's
Hindsight's
right.
2020, and we can't go back. We can just go forward. So,
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. You're Seth and you're
David Moser.
David. Okay, thank you.
So he's the one that refused to stop. So yeah, it's pretty much done now. So
And as Seth referred to, there's kind of been this larger kind of drainage question. I don't know how much we want to mix these topics or not, but there had been prior discussion, communication about drainage off the fields, then sort of damming up by the newly paved airstrip, and also contributing sediments across Watchog Road, I think 2 summers ago when it was really wet, and it was a super wet year where I think the cover crop wasn't able to be planted as soon as usual. It was kind of a perfect storm of nonstop rain and issues. But since then, there was talk of a plan to improve drainage in that area, and I know communications probably totally deteriorated between you and the neighboring property at this point, but I know that Tim was working on a plan to install a swale, but there was some concern over the road drainage and that sort of matter. But I don't want to confuse things too much, but I don't know while they're here if you also wanted to.
I think Tim or I can speak to that, but basically the feasibility that we looked at, it's not possible. The road can't handle it.
Yeah, I subsequent to looking at whether the grading would work, that was the first step. The first step, because we were anticipating putting a swale between the field and the runway to intercept it. Currently, it just comes down when the sheet flows over the runway. With the construction that was downstream and the open soil in their yard, when that water got there, there was an issue with sediment out the road. That was not really a result, a problem of what was upstream, because the water's always come downstream. It's always sheet flowed that way.
But not 2 summers ago was before that lot was opened up, and it was sediment coming off the ag field. And it was a terrible year, but we're getting more and more of those.
Right.
So we had a discussion at the time. I think Brandon had come to the commission and represented the farm at that time, and we talked about the drainage there and kind of what transpired, and there was hope of some solution, just because I can't say it's never going to be another rainy summer like that messes your normal operations up. I know you do your best to have cover crops, and I know Drew couldn't make it here tonight, but he's familiar with the area. He lives on Watchog Road.
He drives it every day.
Right, he goes by there, every day. And what was I getting at with this? He's observed over the years or perceived a difference with when those like contour strips were removed from the field. Those might have helped as well to kind of break up that slope. Now everything just kind of comes rushing down.
All the water ends up in the same spot, though, Joanna. Whether those
Right.
contours are in there or not, the water ends up in that corner.
Yeah.
In the system, Tim did some studies.
So I analyzed the pipes. I did a little drainage analysis, and
Yeah.
I figured that, based on the area, there's about 1,000 feet coming down that hill. And if you take 1,000 feet, if we were to put in a 500-foot swale in order to intercept that before it got to the runway, it would completely overload the 18-inch pipe that crosses the street. That 18-inch pipe has the capacity for maybe 150 feet of a swale.
Okay.
So it's really, it's not significant. And you don't want to intercept it all, because if you intercept it all, then you're going to overflow, and you're going to have a washout at the street. So it's almost better to leave it as sheet flow, because sheet flow is the least damaging of all, because it's the least concentrated.
Right. I just thought, some other measure, I don't know if NRCS has thought of this at all, considered this issue, and when they've been out in recent times, but maybe if it's, brought to them, they might have a conservation practice that could help, just to help it infiltrate, slow it down. I'm just trying to think of some solution, just because, it's not that it's not been an issue in the past. I know for a long time it might not have been an issue, but I think just weather patterns, how they are, it's likely to be an issue again. So, and again, I know we're kind of getting into another topic, but maybe we can revisit this as well another time. But it was something where I know the farm had been cooperative about trying to figure this out, and unfortunately, a cooperative solution with the neighboring property, my understanding is it's unlikely to happen.
Well, I'd say over time things will.
We can do it. We can do the whole project on our property. The
Okay.
bottom line is, and we looked at that, the bottom line is the street can't handle it. So if you want to upgrade the pipes in the road, we can fix all the water from coming across that. And Oak Ridge will be willing to do that. The problem is then the town has to figure out how to get all that water down the road to the brook in a safe manner.
Could there be an opportunity? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
There is the opportunity to put a crossing in. The pipe on the other side of the street's a 24-inch and significantly deeper. So if the town wanted to put a cross in to cross the road, we could probably put a swale in to stop the water.
One of the issues with that is that structure is not in front of your property. And the swale, the riprap swale, also is not on your property. So there would need to be some cooperation with the abutting owner in order to improve that riprap swale to get it to the 24-inch if the town was going to put in a 24-inch pipe across the road.
Or there's a catch basin upstream farther. It could be stopped before that riprap swale if the town put a crossing in and the structure up higher on our property.
Okay. Now, is there any opportunity to kind of split that watershed and send some water towards the back?
You're going to be creating a concentrated flow one way or the other. If you create a concentrated flow up to the back, that's just going to have the potential to erode and channelize as well.
There's a significant high spot though in the runway that we can't cross. That's an issue.
Right.
Which is about 500 feet in, and that's what we were looking at initially, figuring that what comes down toward that section.
Yeah.
Initially,
That's quite a barrier. So,
Does Carl have any?
Carl, I know we have you here listening, and we've gotten a little off topic maybe, but I don't know if there's anything you want us to explain to you while you're on, or if there's any questions you have.
I really don't. I guess in terms of violation, it sounds, I mean, it is what it is. What occurred, occurred. But has the area been stabilized now?
It,
That won't occur again, or?
There's, measures in place to slow the flow, and they have seeded it. It's not like fully stabilized yet, but there's like temporary measures in place.
And the grass is growing.
Yeah, and the grass is germinating.
Well, I mean, it's up to, I mean, you can issue orders of any kind, I think, so I don't know, again, I'm not an engineer or a soil scientist, but is the commission satisfied with the efforts to stabilize the area or the progress in doing that? Or is there something, is there like a belt and suspenders approach that you can request at this point?
I know one concern has been that there's currently a good amount of sediment within a culvert on the property that the commission would not want to wash out into the brook. So if that could be
cleaned out by the property owner.
Is there? Do you have a plan where you would be able to clean out that culvert without washing it down into the brook?
Rip it out and put a new one in.
Yeah, or something to suck it out.
If you plugged up one in with a vac truck.
Just pull it out. I don't know if it's all on our property or not. I have to look at that.
I think it
is.
It ends to show you.
I mean, if removing it's probably it's a 12-inch pipe. It's this far buried down, and it's maybe a quarter full of sediment. It's not half full. It's just got a little bit of bottom. I can rip it out and do something with that.
Well, 3 of us saw how much sediment was in there. It's maybe not half, but it's not just a couple of inches. There's a lot of sediment in that.
I should take a picture of it.
I have a picture, but
maybe
it
some's
doesn't
come out
show it
already.
really well.
But,
yeah.
Let's
Maybe I can try to scratch it out with a hoe or something. I'm not sure what the.
How long of a culvert is it?
It's a 12-inch plastic culvert.
But yeah, it's not very long. It's going under kind of a little informal driveway. But how long would you say that is? Like,
About 32 feet.
Well, this isn't a very good picture because it's in the shadow. Or maybe Joan has a better one. Yeah.
Is that with water in it though?
Yeah, so half was probably an exaggeration. There was some water at the time. My photo is unfortunately very shadowy, and so is this kind of an angle to get it. But mostly the hope is to stop any more sediment from getting to the brook.
And what about the plan? You were told that Tim had plans for swales and construction, and we haven't seen any.
That was
plans.
then what Tim was talking about, that that plan would overwhelm the town's 18-inch culvert that crosses the road. So we'd need some coordination with, if maybe the town would be willing to do a project to increase that or add another crossing up gradient. Then sounds like they'd be willing to create a swale to drain to
If
it.
the town put across the road, we could create a swale to put it all into that pipe.
Yeah.
We're here to be helpful.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Joanna? What do you think would be?
They
So-
can only do what's on their property, right?
What?
They can only do what's on their property.
Right.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and at this time, it's not an option, but it's something we could discuss with Public Works and see if there's ever, I'm sure it's something they'd have to budget for, and it wouldn't happen tomorrow. But we can have those conversations. I think for the matter tonight, it's more, similar to our other kind of ongoing violation, is making sure that swale continues to stabilize, and if you, I realize that you're not working there anymore, so the order is not really stopping them from doing something at this point. It's saying not to do any more site work on the property, but with our other, we've kept it open until the area's been fully stabilized, so we can keep getting updates each month and ensure that it ultimately is stabilized and we can clear the order. But I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I would keep it open at least until next month and just see how the grass came in and what it looks like now in a month.
If I send you pictures, Joanna, is that sufficient for?
Yeah, and
No, we drive by all the time. We can see it. Yeah.
So you can tell me what looks. We're not gonna. We're done. We're not. We were gonna put more swales in, but with more research from Tim, that doesn't make sense. We don't overwhelm the town system. If the town wants to partner and put something across the road, we're happy to partner and fix it. But
Yeah.
at this point in time, we can't do.
Could the town do it if it's an emergency?
I'm not sure why the town doesn't pay to do that.
Just a thought.
What is
I'm sorry, where did you guys land on cleaning out the swale?
Didn't.
You did?
They didn't. They didn't.
Well, was there talk of possibly
Is there a way to do that?
to clean out that culvert?
Can you catch it with a wheelbarrow at the other end? Is it that? I don't know how big it is. I haven't
It
been
goes
there.
under the road.
Can you flush it with a hose into a wheelbarrow? Or I don't know. I don't know how much sediment we're talking, or
Then you've got water coming.
how much pressure you would need to do that.
Whatever didn't end up in the.
What about something like, I don't know if there's room for
Could be
like a
called.
temporary sediment basin or something just offline from that culvert to kind of direct it toward temporarily?
Yeah. The thing is, you got to flush it from one end to the other, so the water's going to come out one end, and then it's just a matter of can you divert it somehow at that end so it doesn't continue downstream.
Right.
You got to somehow get it to filter it.
We have 1 or 2 feet before our property line.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did it.
So Dave probably makes a good point. Probably the easiest way to do it is take the pipe out, dump it out, clean it out, and put it back.
Yeah, I know it's tricky because
And that causes more disturbance.
I know the riprap channel just below that is not on your property, and then unfortunately that riprap channel discharges to a catch basin, but it flows beneath that catch basin, so there's not an opportunity to add just like a silt sock or anything in the catch basin because it bypasses the top of the catch basin. It trying to think of some reasonable.
Can I just chime in here for a second?
Yeah.
So it sounds like there might be a solution. It just isn't. I don't know that it's going to come out of tonight's meeting. But one suggestion I guess I could put on the table for you guys to consider is that rather than waiting a month, that you order the dairy to come back in 1 week with a plan to show you how they can clean out that culvert.
I can tell you right now, we'll rip it out and put a new one in. That's how we'll clean it out.
Okay, so they're offering a solution of removing the culvert and replacing it.
And what would the time frame? What would the time frame be?
I guess my concern
to
is
do that?
then they'll be further disturbed.
That's, I don't think we're talking a lot of set like that. I was just up there looking at it. It's not.
Well, if there's less now, that means it's all washed down into the stream then. So.
But it really wouldn't result in more potential for sediment going downstream if you're thinking further disturbance, because what you're going to do is you're going to, as long as it doesn't rain the day you do it, it's going to take less than a day to do it. You take it out, you put the new one in, you backfill it. The water coming down that swale is going to go into the pipe again, not where the pipe was recently taken out and put back in, where the disturbed soils are. So it's going to go through the pipe.
I could probably have it done by tomorrow afternoon if they'll make do that.
Oh, wait, is it going to rain?
It's going to rain.
Not for this weekend. This
Oh,
weekend.
it always rains on the
So
weekend.
there might be thunderstorms.
Actually, that's right. They did say there might be thunderstorms in the late afternoon.
Might, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's,
So if you can get it done before the storm, you'll be all set.
Tomorrow.
we're here to be helpful.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm trying to, if it's not a lot of sediment, would something like a couple rows of silt fence to catch what's gonna run through the,
I mean, I can tell you that I'll
The
go
shovel
there
and that
and
out.
the best we can with a shovel and make sure that doesn't get back in there. And you guys can take a look at it. I can send you a picture. You drive past, you can check it out. I'll do it tomorrow morning. You guys can tell me if you like it or don't like it or.
Well, that's fine, but I still think that we need to leave the order in place, to be sure that that's done, to be sure that the grass comes in, to be sure that there isn't, in the next heavy rain, more wash out of that soil.
and I think Carl was, suggesting maybe if you wanted to amend your order to address that culvert. I didn't specifically ask that be cleaned out in the order. I'd leave that to you, but.
All right.
I can clean it out tomorrow and I'll make sure that we go up there in any place that's channelized, throw some more seed in real quick.
Okay.
Okay, and that could be done in the morning?
Yeah.
Because there might be a thunderstorm in
Yeah, I
the
think
late
that's
afternoon. I saw, but I'm not a weather person, so.
Well, they're always wrong anyway.
Guess is as good as theirs.
If it is going to rain, I would recommend holding off the seeding until after it rains.
Good suggestion.
Well, it's going to rain at some point. So.
Well, what seeding are you talking about now? Because they've already done seeding.
No,
Just make sure there's
around.
plenty up there.
He
Anyone
said
that
he'd
it's
put
not
more
growing on
seed
Oh,
down
okay.
there. Yeah, which would help to stabilize.
Yeah, I mean, there
them.
were some areas where
Do it
there
on
was,
Monday, because that's
yeah.
when the sun comes out. And
I think it's also the water was flowing, so while they did, seed and straw, there's areas where, didn't take or, there's areas that had some erosion and it was cutting into the sediment where it could be like smoothed out and,
Would you be happy if he did it tomorrow morning versus Monday?
yeah, I don't know, I was gonna look at my weather, but I've got Carl, but, maybe it'd be
It's
good.
going to rain. Well, we'd gladly mess it.
I almost wonder if we should wait until it's more stable to clean out the pipe. Because once it's, because if you clean it out and then there's still washout, then it's just going to fill up again. So if you waited until the grass on the swale and not as much would be flowing into it, hopefully,
I guess the question is though, is in the meantime, will that sediment wash
Go
out
into the brook, right.
But,
I think most of it already has.
I know.
But you
I know.
did add, above and below that culvert, you added, what did you,
There is not, below there's not. I don't
Okay.
know where our property line is below that, and there's riprap below that.
It's riprap right from the end of the pipe.
okay, it goes right into it.
Above it, there's straw and stone dams every 25, 50 feet.
Which aren't doing any good.
We'll clean it out the best we can, throw some more seed down there, and you guys can keep driving by looking at it.
And it's very visible.
Sounds good to me.
What do you think, John? Do you want to just leave the order as is, or we can?
All right. Well, we can cease and desist except for cleaning out the pipe and stabilizing.
Do you want me to read what the order stated? I didn't actually read that out for the record because it actually does address stabilizing. So, where we get into the actual order part of the letter was you are hereby ordered to cease and desist from any further site work, including but not limited to excavation and drainage work, either within or in the vicinity of the pond or swale. You are further ordered to stabilize all exposed soils on site and install sediment barriers down gradient of disturbed soils in accordance with the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control to prevent further sediment from entering stormwater infrastructure or to prevent sediment that is within the swale and farm road culvert from traveling off-site. No further site work aside from installation of erosion control measures as described should occur without explicit authorization from the wetland agent.
All right, so we're authorizing cleaning the pipe.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So you can do that tomorrow morning. Okay.
I will say your no-till practices are helping you. Do you know if B&B, do they till? They do. I was just wondering about that area, and yeah.
Commercial corn is one of the only things that's grown in there that can't no-till. Vegetables, tobacco.
You have to, yeah. But can't you only grow corn there for so long because of how much, like, carbon or something you know?
Nope.
Okay.
There's soil practices that we try to rotate, or that's why we grow cover crop.
Okay.
But no-till is to prevent runoff and sediment leaving. Yep. And our goal is to have a growing crop all the time. Yep. Our soil in the brook is no good because that's what we farm. So if it all goes in the brook, we can't farm anymore. So we try to keep it under the
Okay, and at this point, I know you said you're done, but you're at this point happy with the grading along the pond and everything. Okay.
At some point, if it dried out and we had another really dry spell, we might go in and clean it up a little bit more. But there's no intention to do that at this point.
Okay. And now you know not to discharge it over disturbed soils. Okay. All right. I think it's more, if nothing else, sort of a educational moment. And
Yeah,
stabilizing.
because I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out with all of you involved and your contractor, what was the thinking going on that when you release the pond, when you dig up the swale and you release that water, kind of what did you think was going to happen? Or did you not think that we would care? Or, I mean, that's where I'm just trying to figure where the planning in this was. And I mean, we've seen with homeowners that you can get a contractor out there and they go wild. And then the homeowner's stuck with the issue, but they're ultimately responsible. And I mean, you've got an engineer involved, you've got whatever your role is, Dave, and then you've got you, Seth, who came out. You were very quick to respond. But I'm just trying to figure what did you really expect other than what happened, by digging out this. I mean, and for those who didn't see it, it was wide. It was wide. It was a swale, but then it was several feet on either side of just dirt. And a pond with the water releasing from the pond, and then heavy rain.
Washing it further
So,
Yeah.
So going forward, I would hope that there would be better planning. I don't know how we got to this point, and yes, by the time we could do anything, the damage was done, and we couldn't do anything except issue a notice of violation, and that didn't stop anything. And then, issue a cease and desist order, and the work was already done. And so, I mean, that's where our frustration is, because it never should have happened. How did it get to that point? So, again, it's literally water over the dam, so there's nothing else we can do about it. So anyway, we'll leave this.
If you want good neighbors. People pay attention around here.
Okay, so I think we're done with this, right?
Okay.
Any other
So we'll
questions?
clean the pipe out and we'll wait for next month to hopefully get it stabilized and.
Right.
Yeah, just keep an eye on it. Do what you can to when it's not going to rain, and the next day, you know, smooth it out and reseed and straw it, and hopefully things will dry up for a little bit, so so it gets a chance to establish. But just you know, keep
Dry up and
keep at it, and I know we said it's very visible, but I don't mind if you send me photos.
I appreciate your
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So am I going to make a motion to modify the order?
Sure.
Okay, I make a motion to modify the cease and desist order at 122 Watchalk Road
To include
to include
Cleaning up.
digging out the sediment from the culvert to lessen the sediment from entering the brook.
What brook is that? That's
Watchalk Brook.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Good going.
Should I let you go, Carl?
Yeah, I think, unless you need me, it sounds like you're done, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Tom.
But that's like I said, how did you get to that point? I mean, that was massive if you went out and saw.
Yeah.
I know we're live.
Okay.
But I just asked them that. I just don't understand how you get to that point.
Just, they wanted it done. The rain was coming. They still
They
kept
didn't care.
going.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're behind schedule.
And-
We should have did it last fall and pushed to do it this
So
spring.
we're halfway there, and let's just get it done and see what happens.
And Wetlands
And
Commission and
unfortunately-
Watchalk Brook be damned,
Yeah,
right?
and unfortunately, the stuff entered, so.
So we did get a lot of rain.
Right, they did it just before.
Well, the
Just before.
timing was terrible.
Even if they had waited
Yeah.
a day or two,
Yeah,
you know,
timing
but
was bad, just bad.
but
Bad timing.
my question is why? It's like use your head.
Yeah,
you know.
bad timing. Definitely
Okay,
bad timing.
audience participation. We don't have any
Good going.
staff report.
Okay, so I feel like this month was a lot of dealing with violations and inspections of different sites that, you know, with varying results. Well, there have been a lot of, you know, spring typical building permit applications, decks, sheds, pools, some new houses, and some foundation replacements. There is one foundation replacement that involves wetlands at 88 Wynwood, and I did talk with the contractor because there's a stream just at the edge of the property, so we discussed erosion controls and making sure those are installed properly to prevent anything running off. But we had previously determined that crumbling foundation replacements would be exempt from wetland permitting, just that I work with them to make sure they're protecting the wetlands. I did issue 2 minimal impact permits. One was on 43 Suncrest for a small shed. I think it was maybe 200 square feet, right by their driveway, and not involving any grading, anything like that. And then also on 17 White Birch Circle, an above ground pool that was under 500 square feet, that I was able to issue a minimal impact permit for as well. And that's another one where it's a pretty flat area. They're just going to put down a crushed stone pad and put the above ground pool on it, so it was not much disturbance. Otherwise, for 39 Pheasant, that's one that was issued a wetland permit probably a year ago that has a pond close by. The house is now built, and they had some erosion control malfunctions where there was a little bit of sediment had gotten beyond the erosion controls. So I worked with them. They ended up shoveling any sediment that had accumulated, and I sent them info on a wetland seed mix to use instead of grass to stabilize those areas. So that was done. Nothing got to the pond, but I just, wanted to address that. And also that lot, also pretty much all the vegetation is invasive. It's like all knotweed and multiflora rose and bittersweet and autumn olive. It's like all of the invasive plants possible are on that lot. So I talked to them more about, we had a condition that they have a plan to remove or to eradicate invasives, which they had. There's an herbicide they've been using, but there's more work to be done, and I've continued to educate them on which plants they should be really focusing on, but that'll be an ongoing battle, really. It's really tough when literally like almost everything is invasive in that area. And unfortunately, right, the pond also. And otherwise, mostly just working with property owners to stabilize, and nothing else really super worth mentioning.
Have you been down 190 lately?
Oh,
They
on
were
the Stafford
digging.
line.
They were digging with a big shovel right down near the street where.
Like a hand shovel?
No, the big heavy equipment. Right
When was
where
that?
today.
Oh, today.
Right where the culvert and what's already dug up. Just a few feet from 190. They were in there with a whatever you call it, backhoe, front shovel. I don't know what they're called. With a big piece of equipment digging
Okay.
big.
My
hunks
partner always
out of
tries to
whatever.
test me. What's that?
Yeah.
I know they still had like
A
culvert
pipe to
out
put
there.
in.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe what they were doing was okay.
But all of a
and
sudden, yeah.
I was tempted to stop, but it's such a bad place to stop, and they already had a lot of vehicles lined up on
Oh, yeah.
on their side of the road, and I couldn't
Oh,
see
yeah.
exactly what they were doing.
I'll
but-
check in on that. I think it's either 1046 Main Street or 1026 Main Street. It's
Just look at our past notes.
But that also has a bucket on the other side. We have a digger on one end
I
and a
guess
bucket on the other.
I don't know
The
difference between
excavator.
He
was-
smells her.
It was
knows
digging.
Have you
Heavy
worked in a
equipment.
gravel? Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, my father was an
Excavator, there you know the difference.
And my
There's the
husband and I
difference.
were, yeah.
It was digging.
Okay.
Excavator is bigger and
1046
has a
Main.
okay. Good.
1040 what?
Thank you for that information. Good to know.
Yeah. So I had talked with them after the last meeting, or before the last meeting, and they did put wood chips along the sides of the driveway, and
But you don't even
But,
see them now.
yeah.
I mean, it's almost like there's more dirt there now.
Okay.
It's yeah. But
Okay,
what
I'll have
a
to reach out.
Tough lot to.
yeah, it's so
I don't know
steep.
why anybody ever approved.
And everyone can see you.
I know exactly.
Like this.
Right.
All right. Okay. Motion to accept the staff report.
I'll make a motion to accept Joanna's report.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence and bills.
I don't have any. We didn't approve anything
Oh,
this
that's
summer.
a good one.
All
You
right.
might be getting out of here quick.
Minutes approval.
Stanley Cup night. They just started the game 20 minutes ago.
Oh, no, oh, wow.
That's hockey, right?
That's the final.
My friend's baby
Who's playing?
sat in the Stanley Cup.
Oh, really? Aw. Florida
really?
Panthers.
Yeah.
So Brad Marchand just got traded from the Bruins to the
Oh.
Florida Panthers right before playoffs. And he's,
Playing.
I know, I'm so
Who are
upset that they
playing-
traded him.
Who are they playing against?
They're playing against, oh my goodness, I can't even think of it. Not Dallas. Winnipeg, I want to say. I think it's
So you're
Winnipeg.
rooting for Martian? Yeah.
So when he got traded, he's now done? He cannot participate, or does it happen at the end of the year, the guy that got traded?
No, they do it in the middle of the season.
So that- so
Isn't
he's-
that
so
weird?
he's gone.
Yeah, they sent him right before playoffs.
So he's in the
So he
playoffs,
got to be in the playoffs with a different team, but played with the Bruins the whole season.
Oh,
I never realized that either
strange.
until,
It
yeah.
is weird.
That's strange.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes.
I make the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Go ahead,
Second.
second.
All those in favor?
8:22.
Aye.
Hey, that must be a